everybody. So a few things have changed since my last video. I'm in new surroundings, I've moved house, and I'm expecting a little adventure next year. My boyfriend Chris and I are having a baby, which is super exciting. And today, August the 31st, is my birthday. And Chris has surprised me with a trip to Inverness, which is really cool for lots of reasons. We're going on the sleeper train tonight, which is something I've always wanted to do. And Inverness and the Loch Ness area is a part of Scotland I've wanted to visit to do some research for a book. I won't say which of the two series just yet, so I'm going to try something I've never done before, which is to bring you with me and hopefully have some footage of some of the things that inspire me to create a little travel vlog. So let's go. The classic room. Whoop. Twin beds. Very James Bond, live and let die. A little sink.
And that's it?
And that's it. We're on the move. Can't see much, but we're moving. There he is. Okay, so it's me again. I didn't actually film myself for the rest of the whole trip, apart from that bit at the beginning. Partly because I'm still a bit self-conscious about filming myself in front of the general public. That makes me sound like a celebrity or something. No, but I filmed stuff I was looking at, and also I wanted to kind of be there in the moment and enjoy it. So I didn't want to give the camera to Chris and be like, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille, you know. So I want to talk a little bit about it in hindsight. It's still quite fresh in my memory. It's been a few days later. So the Caledonian Sleeper was quite a novelty. It was really fun. And as you can see from the video, it was quite a tight space. But even though it was small, being able to lay down on a bed is so much more comfortable than being on, for example, a long haul flight where you're in a seat for 12 hours. So it was really fun. It reminds me of the film, as I mentioned there, Live and Let Die, James Bond's. So that was really fun. And I mean, on the way there, we were in the classic room. On the way back, we were in the next room up, which was the club class. They're pretty much identical, but I'll talk about that later. And I didn't get much sleep on the way there. I probably slept for like 1 to 2 hours in total. And it was a comfortable bed, it was comfy, and I did get some rest, but there was a door on the right-hand side between our room and the next room, and all throughout the night, that door was going bang, 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 bang. So that was kind of keeping me awake. In the morning, we had bacon rolls. Well, I had a bacon roll, Chris had a sausage roll, and drinks that we picked. In the classic car, you pay. In the club car, you don't pay extra. For breakfast, that's included. But yeah, it was really fun.
Castle Stuart there.
We're on the road.
Castle Stuart, what's that look like?
I don't know. I think they've got a lot.
Do some castle hunting tomorrow.
Yeah. That first day when we got there, we had a walk around before we could check into our hotel room. We walked around Inverness town centre, and it's a really pretty town. The buildings are really nice. There's a great library. We didn't go inside, but it looks really nice. I'm always thinking down south, it's a shame that so many libraries are in these modern buildings. I mean, libraries are great, whatever building they're in, but I really like oldie worldy buildings that have lots of books in them. So that looks pretty cool. One thing that surprised me about Inverness was, firstly, how many American tourists were there. The place was full of Americans. And, you know, I lived in America for 3 years. I get on well with Americans. But all of the restaurants, not all of them, a lot of the restaurants seemed to cater towards American tastes. The menus reminded me of what you'd get in America, particularly in the Northeast. So there was lots of mac and cheese, burgers, chicken wings, on so many of the menus. In Inverness Centre, we didn't eat much outside the centre because we tended to have a meal in the evening. But that was really surprising. And then we drove down to, because we had a hire car, we drove down to Loch Ness And every time we drove in the car, the views were so spectacular. I've never really seen anything like it. Maybe the closest would be when I lived in America and sometimes had a road trip out. But it was stunning, really stunning. Everywhere you looked, there was something really gorgeous to look at. And I don't know if it's just this time of year, but the colours were so beautiful on the mountains. You'll see in the videos, there were lots of reds, greens, browns that looked so spectacular. And the mountains were so high up as well compared to what we're used to in England that I really enjoyed that. So that was Loch Ness. It was a beautiful day. We didn't go into the castle you can see there to have a look at. We were going to, but the car park was full, so we just ended up going back to Inverness. We were pretty tired by that point. We didn't go into the visitor centre. It was about £15 each, and I looked in the reviews and it said there were just videos to watch. So we kind of gave that a miss. But we did read up on some of the theories, some of the legends about Loch Ness, and I personally, I don't know, but I think obviously a lot of people who think they have seen something probably haven't. But I do believe that some people have seen something, and there's all kinds of theories. There's prehistoric creatures out there that survived, so crocodiles are pretty old, as I understand it, as animals, because they survived underwater. So there could be some sort of prehistoric type creature that came into the loch. And one thing I didn't realise till I was there was that the loch is connected through rivers outwards. So things can swim into the loch and not necessarily live there and swim back out again. And another thing that was really interesting was our guide, when we went out into the loch, said that years and years ago, a man was trying to break the speed record across the water, and he crashed and sadly died. And it took years and years and years to find his boat at the bottom of the loch. It's very, very deep. So I kind of thought, well, if it takes years and years to find a boat that's crashed and stays in the same place, presumably, then it's not surprising that all the searchers haven't found something living that can move around and leave the loch as well and go through the rivers. So, do I think there's something there now? Probably not. Do I think there's a family of Nessies? That would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be so fun, but I don't think there is. But I'm not ruling out that somebody at some point saw something. On day 2, we took a drive out to, I think it's pronounced Illandonan Castle. I've probably got that wrong, but it was an hour and a half from the hotel in Inverness. And again, the scenery was spectacular. You'll see it from the videos. Everywhere you look, there was something really beautiful to look at. We saw more lochs, we saw more mountains. Didn't see any red squirrels, which we were a little bit disappointed by. We'd hoped to see some of those. But the castle was so beautiful and romantic and stunning. There's just not enough words really that can come to my mind verbally to describe it. But it was so much fun to walk around there. We went inside the castle. We weren't allowed to take videos or pictures inside the actual main bit of the castle. So we just took a few videos. Well, I just took a few videos around the outside. but highly recommended to go and visit. Again, met some American tourists there. There were lots of tourists having a look round, but it wasn't overly crowded, which was nice. So on our last day before we got the train home in the evening, we went to, and I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm just going to guess, Clava Cairns, I think. That was our first stop, which is an ancient 4,000-year-old burial ground. It's free to go into and quite atmospheric. It just looks like on the video as a pile of rubble, really. But there's these circular, I don't know what they are, I guess graves, but they found, I think the remains were all long gone, but they did find evidence of people building fires there for some sort of ritual. So yeah, it was I felt a little bit spooky, even though we were there about lunchtime in the middle of the day. And it was definitely worth a trip to have a look at it. The drive there was different to the drive to the castle the day before, in that it was more sort of countryside farmland, but still very beautiful. After that, we took a drive to Fort George, which is a large, still active military base, and it's not too far from the airport, so we thought we'll get one more visit in before we have to return the car. We took that back to the airport. Then we made our way back on the bus to the train station to get the train in the evening. So the fort was massive, really big. I'm not a big military buff or anything like that about military history. It's not normally my thing. But it was really interesting to have a look around, and some of the rooms are decked out as they were, at different periods of history. So that was interesting to look at. While we were walking around, we heard some of the, I don't know what rank they were in the military, but some of the people in charge really shouting at some of the soldiers there inside the building. So you definitely get a sense that this is somewhere that's still in use for soldiers training today. Okay, so we're now in the club car, which has got its own shower and toilet. So that would be nice to have a shower in the morning when we wake up. And beds are pretty much the same as before. Little sink. Not loads of space, but there's enough to lay down. And we've got extra breakfast options because we're special. And we're on our way back home, leaving Inverness. That's some of that chocolate we got for the upgrade. Back in London. 7:48. After having dinner in Inverness, we ended up going to a sports bar, watching a game of football. It was a nice way to relax because we'd done a lot of walking, a lot of travelling. We've crammed quite a lot into a couple of days, really. So it was nice to just chill out before we took our train ride back to London. And we had a slightly different room. So we had, I think it's called the club room, which is the next one up on the Caledonian Sleeper. I walked in and thought, well, this is identical to the classic room. The beds are exactly the same. So, I mean, the main difference is you get a toilet and a shower in the club room, which does make a difference because in the classic room, you have to walk down the hall and use a toilet that everybody else uses. And we took a walk down at one point on the way back to the restaurant car just to have a look and stretch our legs. And one of the other cars, the toilet absolutely reeked. It was disgusting. Like, we were running just to get through it. And it very much reminded me of the scene I wrote in Temple of Treasure when I think Logan makes a bad smell in the bathroom and Rufus can't stand it, so they travel down the train. It was kind of life imitating art there, so we had a laugh about that. But the main differences between the rooms, the bathroom, as I mentioned, they gave us 2 pillows instead of 1. There were chocolate bars, a fancier bar of soap. I mean, you do get soap in the cheaper room as well, but it was a nicer smelling soap. You get a free breakfast included. You get more choices of what breakfast to have, and you can go and have it in the restaurant car and you get priority for that. So we ended up having a Scottish breakfast on the way back, and we just had like rolls on the way there. I would say on the way back I got a lot more sleep. I don't know why that was, maybe I was just tired, but I probably slept for 4 or 5 hours on the way back, which is a lot better than the 1 or 2 that I got on the way there. So I felt a lot more refreshed coming into London. Overall, it was a fantastic trip. It's given me a lot of inspiration. There's definitely things from the trip that will go into my book that I'm getting back to writing soon. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.